Thank you for listening above Rubies Podcast, created by a mom for every mom and parents for that matter, embracing parenthood and sanity. Here to help you get by through weekly discussions on parenting, relationships, home, and faith as you juggle daily in life. All right. Hello, everyone. Today, I am very excited because I am with my client, Dr. Barry. He's going to be my guest today for this podcast episode. This is going to be the second time that I'm interviewing Dr. Barry. The first time was when I was asking questions about freelancing, and now I'm so happy he said yes again because that's how supportive he is to being my guest. So Dr. Barry is a board-certified internist, and he is a founder of Pierre Medical Consulting as well. We've been working together for more than a year now. How are you, Dr. Barry?
I'm well. First of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me. I was hoping that I did a good job the first time around, so I guess I did, and I got the second invite, and I'm very happy and excited.
Oh, you definitely did, and I'm very honored and so thankful for you. So, as you know, Dr. Barry, he's someone who just wears so many hats. I don't know how he's able to manage it, but we can definitely learn a thing or more from him with this episode. So Dr. Barry has 3 kids of his own. Am I right, Dr. Barry?
Yes. My oldest is 8, and I have 2 twins who are 5.
Yeah, awesome. And they're boy and girl, right? Your twin.
Boy and a girl. Yeah. So 2 girls and a boy.
Nice. How's parenting so far for you?
You know what's interesting, I had my oldest daughter, and we were kind of going through the ropes because it was me and my wife's first child, and we were kind of going through that process of really learning how to be parents.
Yeah.
And we thought we had it all good. So the second go around, we figured like, all right, we got this the first time around. We should be ready for the second go around. And we almost had to start all over again. The type of parenting that we had to do and the process we had to learn. And of course, now having a boy instead of a girl was a whole different process in and of itself. So it's definitely been an amazing adventure, and something that every day, like I'm like shocked and surprised. I'm like, oh God, I can't believe I'm a parent.
I know. Is it really different how you parent them? How does that work? Because I only have 1 kid and he's 7.
Yeah, honestly, I thought we were going to be able to kind of parent kind of the same style, with all of our kids, and it would all work the same. And we realized very quickly that every single one of them has their own personality. Yeah. Every one of them has their own traits, what makes them special, what makes them happy, what makes them sad. So you almost have to like govern accordingly to the specific child, because everyone just kind of has the way they do their things.
Yeah.
Especially my son. My son is he's a troublemaker. He's just he has so much energy and so much, spunk, and a lot of times we just having to try to curtail and kind of control his energy gives us some sleepless nights.
Oh no. But that's not gonna be for long because they're gonna grow up. So as cliche as it may sound, they say, enjoy while it lasts.
Oh, that is so true, because it's every day I come from work and I feel like they're doing something new. They're saying something new. They're asking, they just like, you can just see them kind of growing up in your own eyes. And you're just like, oh my God, like, just yesterday I had to carry you just with one arm, and now you're just kind of running everywhere. So yeah, you are so true. They definitely grow very quickly.
They do. And did you ever have to deal with sibling rivalry, since you have twins, and then the eldest was just 3 years older than them? Did you have to deal with sibling rivalries?
I know when we first brought the twins home, it was probably one of the most interesting times, because my daughter, who is autistic, she didn't really understand what was happening. Like she like one day she looked, and then there was one baby, and then especially because my twins didn't come home at the same time, and then probably like a week or so later there was a second baby. So all of a sudden she went from having no one right to really play with to having 2 little kids to kind of call her own. And, she has just been almost motherly to them. Like she's always trying to direct them, always trying to counsel them, always trying to, play with them and kind of school them and, give them the direction, which is
Oh.
such an amazing thing. But you can see it happen, especially it doesn't matter. There could be a million toys in the room. They're always going to fight over that one toy. And you can and that's when you see those personalities start coming into play, where all of a sudden you're not my friend and I'm not your friend. And it's just a loving rivalry, but you could see how it ebbs and flows, where like they love to be next to each other, but then when they're next to each other, they want to kill each other.
Exactly. That's funny. But that's how we grew up as well, because my sister I'm only a year and a half older than her. So we were like, at one point we were so close, and then at one point we would like to really seriously kill each other. It's so funny. But then growing up now, you just look back at it and then just laugh at it.
That is so. Me and my brother are kind of the same way. We're probably we're less than 2 years apart from each other, and we would go through those same things where we wanted to kill each other and fight. And then now we're just like the best of friends, or it's just like I'm not sure when we came back together. I guess once we got old enough and realized we were silly for fighting each other.
Exactly. That's really fun. How long do you think did it take for the eldest to adjust to the twins?
I think honestly, I think even now it's still a day-to-day process, because she went through a time frame where she was the only person was alone, so it wasn't nothing for her to be alone, to play by herself, to have her own toys. Yeah. And the biggest adjustment of getting her to just kind of learn to kind of share her toys, and not be kind of the big sister who beats up on the little sister and the little brother. Yeah. Because sometimes she doesn't realize, that she is the bigger sister, that, she's a little bit stronger than him. She's a little bigger than him. So she can't really bully him as much as she can.
Exactly.
So it's taken some time, but she loves her siblings, and that's probably the most important thing, that you could just see that love, and you can see again when they are playing, they'll play for hours together.
Yeah, and that's really nice. That's great. And since you work at a hospital, and I'm pretty sure your schedule is really tight, how do you manage your role as a father to your kids and juggle work and life at the same time?
Honestly, especially what happens with work, I can be in the hospital 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours in a day. And I always have to champion having that support system with my wife, who, takes a lot of the brunt of the effort, is so important, because I know I wouldn't be able to do what I need to do at work if I didn't have someone who, who held down the fort at home. And having the kids at home, it gives you that spark of energy when you are working, that 8th hour, that 9th hour, that 10th hour, and understanding that you have someone to go home to. You have kids who are going to be super happy once you touch the door. And like even if you're having a bad day, they don't care that you're having a bad day. They just glad that daddy's home and everyone's happy about it. That is always such a motivating factor, and I think that's what really drives me to work and to provide, because I know I have people I have to provide for, and they're happy either way, right? If I'm not working, they're happy. Fact, now my son is old enough to talk about how he missed me. Right. And he's like, "Oh, Poppy, I miss you. Poppy, I miss you." And I'm like, "Okay, I know." I said, "Daddy has to go to work though."
And it's really sweet. It's really heartwarming when they say that. They say, "I love you," and they say, "I miss you." It's just, and they're so sincere.
Oh, 100%. Because you could really tell they're like, "Poppy, I didn't see you when I woke up." Because a lot of times my day has it so that I'm leaving the house.
Oh, they're still asleep
before they even wake up.
Yeah.
So by the time they wake up, they're like, "Oh, what happened? Where's Poppy at?" And sometimes I'm not getting home until it's close to dinner time. And even when it's close to dinner time, that means they may have maybe an hour or 2 left before they go into bed. So there may be some times where I may only spend maybe 2 hours at max with them during the day. So that's why when I do get home, I try to put everything down and put all my focus to them, because I know I only have them for 2 hours. I say, well, let me just take advantage of the 2 hours now. I'll catch up on my energy and my sleep later.
That's awesome. That's a really wonderful reminder for parents. It's not how long you get to spend with them. It's the quality that you're able to bond without any distractions with the kids. And that's something I should remind myself of.
I think you said it. I think you said it right on the head. It really is, because if I measured it just by the sheer time I spent with them, then I'd always be sad, right? I'd always be sad because yes, I do work a lot. And yes, that does take away from me spending time with them, especially during the week. So, and that's why even on the weekends, and of course, my wife has no problem with it. It's almost like, all right, daddy's here, goodbye. So my wife's able to sleep in. And I essentially have the kids pretty much the whole day to kind of like play catch up of what I've missed during the week. So I think that's really, really important, especially for parents out there, to understand that you really just got to take advantage of the time you do have with your children, and quality time is important. Because again, a lot of times we may be in the house, right? We may be in the house with them, right? But if we're not, paying them attention because our mind is elsewhere, or we're still busy, thinking of work or thinking of other things outside of them, that can get lost. And I think kids can pick that up. I think kids can pick up when you're not fully attentive to them. And I have kids where if I'm not fully attentive to them, like they might break something. So I gotta always put full attention.
I can't get your attention to them. So this is what I'm gonna do.
Yes. And they know it too. Like my son, like I said, he's so smart. Like whenever he's going to do something that he shouldn't be doing, all of a sudden he closes his door very quietly. He locks the door behind him. And I'm like, hold on. And then I just hear quiet. And once we know, like if we don't hear from my son or even my daughter, if we don't hear from them, like, hold on, it's too quiet. What is what is Davis doing?
I need to check on them. Something's not right here.
So, something's not right. They are way too quiet for me. Let me go find out what they're doing.
So speaking of bonding time with kids, now that we're on lockdown, I'm not sure what your situation is now in Florida, but how do you bond with your kids? What are your tips for other families out there who are looking into bonding with their kids? What do you think can we do inside the house?
I think one of the biggest things is like I find myself playing more of their games, especially because the kids, they have lots of toys and, lots of dolls and lots of things around that they're usually doing their really imaginary play by themselves. So now I'm trying to be a part of the team that's playing with them. Especially if I'm not like, watching their TV shows or their cartoons, like I really try to be like really within it. So like, hey, we're doing this together because we have so much time, and they don't get to see their friends. Right. So now I'm their friend. Right. Like, so I got, so now that I'm their friend, I have to be their friend. I have to play with them. I have to run around and jump and scream, and I have to do all these things there because they don't get the opportunity to do that with their friends anymore. Like it's just kind of scarce for them. And I think they love it. Right. So that's why they hate when they see you go. Right. Because like, oh no, I want to still play.
Exactly.
And the kids, they have so much energy that's one thing. Those kids will tire out. They got so much energy. And you're like, all right, let's just rest. Like, no, let's play again.
Let me rest. I'm already old.
Yes. That's what I try to, and they don't want to listen to me. They're like, no, we can do. Let's play the game. Let's play this game, and they'll play it. One thing I realized about kids, they will play a game over and over and over again with no end in sight, and it doesn't get boring to them at all. And you're like, aren't you bored yet? They're like, nope,
never gonna happen. Nope. Okay,
never gonna happen. Same. Like a TV show, we could watch the same. I think I've watched some of these movies probably thousands of times, and they always like the next day. I'm like, oh, what do you want to watch?
That same movie. Yeah. And I'm not sure when you moved into the US, but I think if I'm not mistaken, you grew up in Haiti. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Oh no, my parents grew up in Haiti, so I was actually born here.
Ah, okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice any difference in the parenting style in US and Haiti?
Oh yes, I think in the U.S., I think it was more of kind of more of a freer spirit, right?
Yeah.
Like they kind of the kids were allowed to kind of do a lot more and kind of explore a lot more on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Versus over in Haiti, right? Especially when I would talk to, because I have a lot of cousins who grew up there, and they would just talk about how strict it was,
Mm-hmm.
and how like you were going to do A, B, and C, and that's all you were doing, and that's kind of how they kind of walked that path.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like here in the U.S. we had a little bit more leeway to do what we wanted to do. Sometimes we got in trouble.
Yeah.
Sometimes you almost wanted a more stricter pathway,
Mm-hmm.
but they gave you that option to try to explore and kind of be your own person.
Yeah, I agree. And in line with that, how does a discipline look like for you? Are you more of a
So
strict?
I'm definitely the strict yeller,
Uh-huh.
because they typically aren't used to me raising my voice or talking very stern.
Ah.
So I try to keep it in my back pocket, because I don't want them to get used to it. I want them to always be surprised
Yeah.
when I say their name very stern. So because I'm trying to get their attention,
Uh-huh.
and I'm trying to say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And like I want them to know that, oh, like hold on, that's a different voice inflection
Yes.
than I'm used to. So yeah, I'm definitely the strict yeller, and the one who will just kind of look at
I
them.
like that.
Say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? And I always ask my kids, like, what were you thinking? Like, I talk to them. My wife always gets on me because I talk to them like they're an adult, right? And I always the way I think about it, I say, well, I think kids act the way kids act because we talk to them like they're kids. But if I talk to you like you're an adult, right? Like then you'll fall in line. So I'll say, hey, like Davis, what were you thinking? What was it? What was the thought process there? Like, why'd you do that?
That's really great, because I learned to do that as well, to talk to my son like he's an adult, because I was so afraid that he would baby talk, because I found out that that's one of the reasons for speech delays, when you baby talk your kids. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah, no, like in our house, we try to have full, and I think it's even more pronounced because our oldest daughter was autistic. So we were always very keen on just the level of speech that we had to have. So we didn't want any like mixed messages, or we didn't want any ways they could be confused. So we'd always kind of talk in that, like, kind of I guess quote unquote grown up type of tone. So not only could my oldest daughter, who is autistic, pick up the cues and pick up the tone, but then the youngest can also pick it up as well. And of course that backfires, because now my youngest daughter, she's so smart. Like you can't get nothing by her. Like everything is like, oh, why do you have to do this? But why am I doing that for? Like, no, you didn't say that. No, I heard you. Like so she has a question for every. So it's kind of that catch-22. Like now you have an inquisitive child, and they're gonna ask you a lot. They're gonna ask you a lot of questions. So yeah, now like there's no way I could be like, oh, hey, just go in your room. Why do I have to go in my room? Like, well, it's bedtime. But I'm not sleepy.
Yes.
I understand you're not sleepy, but like, so you have to like explain and break down.
And that's very good, because at an early age they already learn to like discuss things.
She's definitely a discusser. She's definitely a negotiator. You're definitely going to have to. And those are some of those times where you have to break out the stern voice, like Brooklyn, like, please go in your room. like, okay, all right.
Have they gone to school yet? The twins?
The twins and even the oldest did. School just recently opened up for us, probably within the past 4 to 6 weeks, because for a few months, probably like 5 or 6 months, we were doing just the distance learning through the computer. And so the schools just started opening up to having students go back. Like now, unfortunately, they don't have all of the students, because you do have some kids whose parents are like, no, you're staying home. You're going to do it, via the computer. But like at least our kids, they started going, and it was nice because, at least they get to see some of their friends that they've been seeing on the computer screen, for some time, and to at least to get into that environment again. Was very key for them.
That's great. Well, here in the Philippines, it's also distance learning. In fact, we're using modules even up to now. So I don't think we will have a face-to-face learning soon. Maybe next year. We'll see how that goes.
And that's so interesting, especially when we think about the transition that we had to make to distance learning. And I honestly, I jokingly said that like a lot of the learning had to even apply to the parents, right? Like I remember, some of the homework they would give my kids to do, and I'm like, this is the homework? This is math? Yeah. Like it was so fundamentally different than even what I was used to growing up. That I would have to like do some homework just to be able to do their homework.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, is this for kids? Right. Why does it have to be so difficult? I was definitely shocked. So I definitely commend the teachers out there because this is definitely not an easy job, and I think with the pandemic and everything that's been happening has definitely really highlighted that. Yeah, exactly, and we learn to appreciate them even more now. Now that we got to experience teaching our kids. Now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Maria and I, you've been mentioning this, that your eldest is autistic. She is athletic, so she's very talented. And although Maria and I are going to discuss this further, I'd like to hear what you got to say about this, because I know a few people personally who have kids with autism. Do you have any advice to them? Or how did it go for you?
Oh, sure. Most definitely. I think one of the first things I remember, like my wife Maria, she was kind of the first people to kind of recognize that, hey, our daughter's different. Like we're not sure like what it is, but like our daughter's definitely different. And going through the process and finding out she was autistic definitely changes a lot of things, right? Because a lot of times, especially as a parent, you may have an idea of like, oh, my child is going to do this, and that. And then you hear like, oh, they're autistic. And then you wonder like, oh, can my child still do all those things that I wanted them to do? Right. And then learning through that process, like, okay, all right, like at different degrees of autism and there's different stages, and there's different learning modalities, and there's different growth spurts that we have to go through. And as a parent, I think that's what like drives me so much, because I'm just seeing her and watching her grow, with this autism that she, again, as a kid, they don't know they're autistic, right? An autistic person doesn't know they're autistic, especially when they're a child. So just it's kind of seeing kind of the world grow around her, and seeing her do some amazing things has definitely been an amazing journey. And like I said, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it without the support of Maria, who's been such a champion.
That's really nice, and you made a really great tag team. And
yes,
that's really awesome. Congratulations. If there's any advice you can give first-time parents like me who only have one kid, what would that be?
Yes. I think the first-time parents, I think one of those things where understanding that it's going to be a day-by-day learning process, everything's going to be new. And you're going to get, what's funny, you're as a parent, especially first time parent, you get advice from everywhere.
Yes.
Right. Everyone is going to tell you like, oh, your kid should do this and you should do that with your kid and you should be doing this. And your kid, like they're going to give you all of the advice in the world, and just understanding that your kid and you yourself is an individual, and you have to be able to build upon that and maximize that. And that will do wonders. Because again, the love is going to be there. Your kids are always going to love you, and just as long as you're there. So as long as you're there first, everything else will kind of fall into place.
That's such a wonderful advice. Thank you for that, Dr. Barry. And before we end this, my listeners are Filipinos, so those who want to check you out, how can they find you? How can they follow you?
Oh, sure, sure. So, on social media, I am Dr. Barry Pierre, DrBerryPierre, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I'm on Instagram,
Pinterest,
Facebook,
Twitter.
Pinterest, Twitter, like wherever there's a social media, if I'm on there, then that's likely my username. And for those who may not know, especially if you didn't catch it, Lynn has been my virtual assistant for like almost like I think we're going on 2 years now.
We're going
soon.
2 years, yeah.
And it's been such a wonderful experience. So a lot of times, if you see me doing stuff online, it may not even be me; it may be her doing it. But I am there. I have a podcast as well. I talk about health related topics.
Yeah.
That Lynn really helps me out with the podcast as well. So the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry as well. So that's available at all outlets where you listen to podcasting as well. So just check me out.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if not for Lunch and Learn, I wouldn't have this podcast as well. I wouldn't have the experience of trying it out first before doing my own podcast.
I love it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barry. As always, I really appreciate your time.
Lynn, thank you for having me again. I hope I did a good job and hope to be invited for the next one.
Definitely. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Sign up to my newsletter so you're notified of my next podcast at www.abovepreciousrubies.com or follow me via Apple Podcast or Spotify. Today's Bible reading is from Psalm chapter 127, verses 3-5. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. Happy is the man who has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate.